they lost a marriage because they were working too much. The music behind that is very much just like a movie. It's helping tell that story. And then all of the coloring and the cameras he uses are all, you know, Netflix quality, cinematic type stuff with the coloring and stuff. So it really gives a cinematic feel to the storytelling. So it's a combination of storytelling that's very compelling with that entrepreneurial piece that makes it much different than masterclass.
Thank you so much for tuning into Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. I'm your host, as always, Christian D. Evans. And boy, guys, we have someone special on today. You ever sit there and you're on your TV and maybe you're running a 7-figure business and you're listening to Shark Tank and you listen to all these other business entrepreneur kind of things. And it's like, man, this is awesome. I want to be in it. I want to know more. Maybe you're sitting there on YouTube and you're like, man, I love this content, but I want deeper stuff. I want more intelligent. I want higher level stuff. Well, guess what? That's the reason why I have this guy on. He is the co-founder and CEO of BizableTV. But before he actually produced this incredible, amazing platform, he was a consultant and entrepreneur. He has worked with people like Target, Neiman Marcus, Starbucks, Holiday Inn. And what's so interesting is you went from that side of things into this new platform, realizing that a lot of people are looking for that higher level business strategy, tactics, business concepts to learn from higher expert people that are just like us. We're not talking about the Gary V's, the Tony Robbins. We're talking about mid-tier people that are going out there hustling, and we got to figure out, hey, how do we turn $1 into 5, 6, 7, and obviously scale and go from there. And that's the reason why I want to have this guy on. Please welcome the CEO, the co-founder of BizableTV, Paul Klein. How you doing today, my man?
Doing awesome, man. I love the energy. This is going to be a great interview. I can already tell.
Well, Paul, I'm really excited about it as well, because see, what I found so interesting is, first of all, you have an immense experience in developing, just incredible consulting and entrepreneurship, but also you found out that, okay, there's a lot of people that are looking for more of this, right? More higher level stuff, definitely in this mid-tier. And so, first of all, before we dive into BizableTV and obviously the future of what's going on and the value that you've been able to generate for so many people, tell me, at what point in your journey did that idea come to you? You're like, wow, this is it. I got to figure this out.
Well, as a friend of mine and our good friend Justin Shank, Mike Kim says entrepreneurship is a life sentence. And I don't know where he got that line, but I got it from him, so I'm using it. And anytime you become an entrepreneur, man, I mean, your antennas are always up for different things, ideas. I mean, the problem is we have too many ideas and too many. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you spurt out an idea you think is going to change the world, and by 2 o'clock you're like, oh wait, that was dumb. But it's the ones that you take action on that matter, and it's the ones that do take action, and a lot of us do take action. And so yeah, just always having that those antennas up. I was my co-founder, Kendall Johnson, who is a world-class filmmaker. So what happened is spontaneous combustion. A friend of mine named Nick Pavlidis from Ghostwriting Academy did some coaching with me, some mindset stuff. And man, it wasn't, but a couple days later, I was with Kendall and I asked him the simple question, if money was no object, what would you want to do? And he's all, I'd love to make documentaries that change the world and give people hope and inspiration. I go, that's interesting. I love entrepreneurship, and I'd love to do documentaries on entrepreneurs. Not Gary Vee, like you said, or Oprah Winfrey. Those people are great, but people just like us. And he said, well, why don't we do it? And I said, well, why not? And so we said, well, let's see if we can create a streaming service for the 65 million of us that are everyday entrepreneurs building 6- and 7-figure smalls. A lot of the people we profile are only a few steps ahead of us. And, sometimes we don't need another 4-part framework, another workshop, another webinar. Sometimes we just need a reason to keep going. And that's the most powerful thing that BizableTV does, is we profile people that are just like us. And if we can see other people going through those same struggles, those sleepless nights, and realize this is just part of the process. And having been on my entrepreneurial journey now for 13 years, 14 years, having all those pains and successes and stuff, we just like to profile that and put a stage up for people to see and give that hope and inspiration to everybody.
Well, what's so interesting, I love the approach. You are very, very focused on not getting the Mark Cubans and all these, Gary Vee and Tony Robbins on your platform. It's more of, like you just mentioned, that mid-tier. At what point did you say, okay, you know what, this is my mission, this is the vision, this is the clarity that I have for this platform, and we're very, very, you plant your flag and say, no, we don't want those bigger individuals, we don't want that Oprah, we want individuals like ourselves. Where did that come from, and how did you get that clarity?
Well, I'd like to say I was a genius, but I'd be lying. So, and I also have to clarify, if Mark Cuban is listening, or Oprah, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, we will accept an interview by any entrepreneur that is a great story. So, so we wouldn't turn it down. Don't get me wrong. But we predominantly are profiling, the 68 million of us that, like I'm sitting in my shorts, business on top, shorts on the bottom, work from home, take the kids to school, but we're still generating good revenue and an income for our families. And so, and really, when we decided to launch the streaming network, we came up with the idea almost a year ago to the day. It was a September road trip that Kendall and I took. And then by October, we said, we put a stake in the ground. We're doing this. We looked at the investment involved. We looked at the launch, and we picked January 28 as our launch date. And so then I immediately, I've been podcasting. I've had a great network of people like Justin Shank, Mike Kim, Dan Miller, just a lot of great people in the space. So I just tapped my network. It's just like, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, I said, man, I know a lot of great people have really great stories. So I just started with what I had. I didn't think, well, we can't get Mark Cuban, so we'll wait 6 months, and then maybe when we get someone big, we'll try. Nah, man, jump in and go for it. And so we launched with 10 people, 10 really cool personalities, all great stories. Jeff Brown from Read to Lead podcast, David Hancock, the founder of Morgan James Publishing. I mean, everybody just doing some really great stuff. And we just started there. So we launched with 50 episodes, 10 people on January 28th, 2022. And we've been growing ever since.
Now, I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of the people, the content creators, as well as the individuals that you've seen have like downloaded, consumed that content. Just talk a little bit about both of those, maybe case studies of what you've noticed.
In case studies of who now, did you say?
Yeah, and case studies in regards to like obviously the content creators and like their journey, and being able to like, oh wow, this is awesome because we're having higher level business concepts, or like just sharing my story, but also the people that are the viewers that are listening to it, and like maybe just hearing some feedback from this journey thus far.
Yeah. The big thing is that they're almost one and the same in a lot of ways. There's people that are subscribers and viewing the content and saying, wow, this was great, I really love it. I can kick my feet up in the evening and watch something great other than the news. And those are people we could probably profile, and we probably will. So we do we've been getting a lot of great feedback, and mostly it's like-minded people. Now we are pivoting a little bit. We do predominantly cater to creators or creative entrepreneurs, but we are also going to be launching a 3-piece additional, I would say, categories on the channel. So as we grow, we have a long-term plan here. We're also going to be incorporating a section called Impact for Profits. And that is a nonprofit section that profiles nonprofits and tell their story. One of the films that Kendall just worked on was an Anthem Film Festival honoree just last month in Vegas called I'm a Victor. And it's about choosing to be a victor from the Black community and not a victim, and very, very, very inspirational content. And so that's going to be kind of that piece. And then the other piece is we will have a more of a corporate section for brick and mortar businesses, people who have like larger employees or a large agency or a construction company. So we'll be profiling those as well. So the channel is going to grow. Right now it's very creator centric, but we're augmenting it with some other great stories and genres.
Let's have fun. That's very, very fun. And when you're, what were some of the big learning experiences? Because you've been in the entrepreneur space for many years. What were some of the big learning? Because this is a new platform, if you will, very similar to like any other platform, but just slightly different, the conversations and whatever. But what are some big learning experiences that you've worked with because of building this platform?
Just the big thing is, like any business, it's like what you set out and think's going to work doesn't always work, or it doesn't work as well as you thought. Initially we launched with the 50 people. And I thought, okay, by February, we should have enough subscribers to, we were shooting for like 150 subscribers, and we came up with about half of that, which was great. But, we were, earmarking higher, so we would at least break even on some of our investments. And so that didn't happen. So then we had to kind of recalibrate. We were running Facebook ads. Okay, we're going to take that $4,000 and put it back into the paying for the, the app development and, just being able to shift. And being an agile entrepreneur, man, don't overthink it, and yeah, someone might say, well, that's not very smart. And this, you should do an analytical study and get investors input and, blah, blah. I don't have time for all that. I just move. And sometimes I pay for it, but one of the things I live by, and I encourage people who are trying new ideas, is do it on your own cash money, and that's what Kendall and I did. We invested our own capital, our own invest. So we didn't put our jeopardy, we didn't mortgage the house, it was house money, if you will. We're not going in debt. We're not getting, and we've been approached by other people who want to become equity, and those dollars are hard to pass by, but I don't want to, it just adds another layer of pressure on you. And sometimes you can't move as quickly as you should when you bootstrap it yourself. So I'm a big proponent of that. Now I know there's a lot of other sophisticated ways, and those eight and nine figure people, I'm not one of those. I'm in that 6 and 7 figure space, and that's how it works for me. And, but I'm not knocking anybody else that does it the other way.
No, and I appreciate you sharing that. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about the foundation of this a little bit in regards to like the difference, because I could imagine some people are like, well, I could get some of the same content on YouTube, or I can sit there and watch this. But I know, because I've consumed some of your stuff, it's like, it's a difference. And I'd love for you to maybe just explain the difference and why, just the different conversations, the different stories, the different things you learn at a higher level. It's just, it's hard to explain, but I'd love for you to just kind of dive into that for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who might be listening, you're like, man, what is this guy talking about? And so some people might equate it to masterclass in some ways. Sometimes we refer to it as we're the Netflix for entrepreneurs. But what really sets our films apart is that Kendall is a world-class filmmaker, and he has worked on Netflix quality films. And then the big thing is he interned under Hans Zimmer. Now, Hans Zimmer wrote the music for Gladiator, Top Gun Maverick, the Avengers. And so this is the magic, and what where the idea was rooted in. And I was like, I saw an opportunity and an idea. And I said, man, if we can take the power of that blockbuster film, just cinematic, beautiful cinematic, production behind that inspirational entrepreneurial story, and then that's where the magic comes in. So when you watch them, they're real, each episode's 10 to 15 minutes, and as the entrepreneur is telling their story, Kendall has scored all the music just like a blockbuster. So when someone's talking about the pain they felt when their first business failed, or they lost a marriage because they were working too much, the music behind that is very much just like a movie. It's helping tell that story. And then all of the coloring and the cameras he uses are all, Netflix quality, cinematic type stuff with the coloring and stuff. So it really gives a cinematic feel to the storytelling. So it's a combination of storytelling that's very compelling with that entrepreneurial piece that makes it much different than masterclass. You'll pick up some 6 strategies and stuff, or how, Jeff Brown failed at his first 2 webinars with John Lee Dumas and Jeff Goins, and then finally broke through, and you'll hear some of those strategies in there, but it's much more than just, here's the 5 strategies on Facebook ads. You can get that on YouTube all day. That's not what we're about, and not knocking that.
No, and that's why I think it's so fun, because honestly, we've seen those kind of just those trainings, how to XYZ, right? And you may be learning from this guy, but you really don't know his story. And this is where the opportunity to understand at a deeper level the pain, the struggle, the frustration. And like you said, there comes to me almost like a synergistic relationship. Now, do you guys have like a community established as well? So it's not just, hey, I'm able to, hey, cool, that was awesome, I watched Shark Tank kind of experience, but it was like, hey, maybe I can be part of it. Maybe I can learn more about it. Maybe I could, be in his ecosystem or her ecosystem of that creator.
Yeah, absolutely. So inside of Bizable TV, we have author profiles with all backlinks to their websites and PDFs. Any downloads that they offer when they're on are all there. And we do have a community inside of Bizable TV. Now, one of the problems with the app that frustrates me is, and we're working on, is the community piece. You have to be a paid subscriber. And I wanted to make the community be allowed to be used by anybody, almost like a Facebook group that you just put your email in, and we give some free access. We give what's called an insider's access. So you can go kind of kick the tires and check it all out. And I want the community to be part of that. So right now it's not part of the free deal. You have to be paid, but I'm trying to get that changed so we can, people can post, and it's a lot like a Facebook feed or an Instagram feed where you can interact and connect with people and so forth. So we're working on that, but it's not quite where we want it yet.
And this right here is what I am so intrigued with, because see, this is something I think TV has really struggled with a little bit, and even Netflix, where you're not able to engage with that and see other individuals. Because I know YouTube is very good at that, where you add the comments, you can actually scroll down and look at all this stuff. It's like, oh, this is a lot of engagement, so this must be really good, right? It's almost like a subconscious thing. But I love what you're saying here, Paul, where you're able to create a community, an ecosystem. Where do you, because you're on the forefront of this, two questions here. Where do you see the future of this kind of platform, this ecosystem, as well as just TV in general, like where the market's going? I know there's always going to be people, there's shows, content, fun stuff, and whatever, but it's so interesting. I'm noticing where it's not these big names anymore. It's the micro influencers, right, that are really making the impact and pushing everything forward. And I just find this so interesting, what's happening in culturally now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. How many of us are cutting the cable or the direct TV? We're buying everything's fragmented, and it's only becoming more. I forget I think it's the streaming market is going to be a $1.3 trillion market by 2025. I think it is, or 2027. It was only a $1 million market just a few years ago. And so everything is migrating that way. And now it is becoming more flooded in a lot of ways. So, we have, I think the average is 4 or 5 subscriptions. I mean, you probably have Netflix, maybe, ESPN Plus, and we all have all those different ones, but people are migrating in and out of those based on interest. It's all in the customers' hands now. So the old days of when I was a kid, there was 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and we watched Disney Magic Kingdom on Sunday nights, and they forced us to watch the commercials. Those days are long. That legacy is gone. And so now it's what the customer wants when they want it. And so they might have Disney Plus for a while, and then all of a sudden they start a business, and now, oh, what's this Bizable TV? I want to subscribe to that for this season. And so as people's interests shift, they shift to these different channels. So you could look at it like, well, it's flooded, but I mean, it all comes back to the content and the consistency. When podcasting first started in 2010, I think there was roughly 200,000 shows. Now there's like 2.1 million shows. But I saw an interesting stat the other day. Of those 2 million shows, in the last 30 days, shows that have actually posted a show within the last 30 days is less than 200,000 still. So a bunch of people come along and test the waters. They do podcasts, or they do a streaming channel or a YouTube channel or whatever, and they put content out for 6 months, and then they go, this isn't no fun anymore, and then quit. And so that's the big takeaway. It doesn't really matter the platform. It matters putting out good content, being consistent, and making sure you're listening to your audience and serving them, and they'll let you know if it's good or not.
See, and this is where I love this approach, and I love how you broke that down for our audience a little bit, because so many times we do think, oh man, even like people that want to create YouTube, or like obviously maybe creators that want to reach out to you and say, hey, how do I be a creator on this? It's like, hey, there's tons of different conversations, and it may be almost, if you listen to a lot of the individuals, it may be almost the same thing, but said differently with a different story and different learning lessons and perspectives. And I think that's what's so fun about it. Now, Paul, I do want to just loop back around with kind of what I mentioned here. If some of our audience are like, okay, I've got a big ecosystem, I've got a lot of fun, I love creating stuff. are you currently still looking for creators, or are you kind of maxed out right now and we're looking for more of, individuals that want to learn more from this ecosystem?
Both. We're actively looking for creators. We do what's called a branded documentary. So we come in and film you, your brand. We have everything from what's called a little docu-series, which was what a lot of the shows are on there now, but we can do full-length documentaries with a theater release. So we're working with a couple different bigger projects, and that gets into the mid six-figure range for those bigger theater type releases. But if you're a creative entrepreneur and coach, speaker, consultant, that kind of a person, we can do a branded documentary, and we are looking for people for that. It's a great way to you can spend money on Facebook ads, you can spend money on all kinds of legacy media, but a documentary can really connect the heart to the mind for your ideal clients. And one of the really cool things we do is not only get you on Roku and all that and all these streaming platforms, but we can also get you on Amazon Prime and in IMDb. So you're right next to Batman and everything. And so when someone searches the IMDb database or Amazon Sunday night, they're burnt out because they got to go to work on Monday. They're looking for inspirational content. You're an executive coach. They put in, executive coach burnout. Your documentary happens to be strategically titled around kind of your brand. Comes up on Amazon Prime. They watch this 20 to 40-minute documentary on you and your brand behind the scenes at some of your workshops or your podcast. And bam, they're connected. They're into your ecosystem. And now you've just expanded your web of influence substantially, and in a way that connects much, much better. The other thing we're doing too that I'm really excited to talk about real fast is we are launching our first full-length flagship documentary to demonstrate our capabilities, and it's called The Creator Revolution. Okay, so this is going to be one of those documentaries. Like, I don't know if you remember, I don't know how old you are, but I don't know if you remember when Vans came out with their documentary in the early to mid 2000s. It was called From the Wall or Off the Wall, but it was about the Vans community and all the skateboarders and everything. It was a cool documentary. So we're going to do that for the creators. And depending on what type of sponsorships we get from different creator-centric brands, this could be a full theater release too. And right now we've got some really amazing guests with John Lee Dumas, Michael Hyatt, looking at some of the younger TikToker people that I don't really know, but need to be part of this. All kinds of different influencers and creators. And it's all about this whole shift from traditional 9 to 5, work for the same company for 30 years and then retire, to this, hey, work from anywhere, create, whether you're making 30, 40 grand a year or 3 or 4 million a year. There's just a huge, huge, space there that nobody's talking about. And I don't know if you're like me, Christian, sometimes people say, what is it that you do? I don't understand. I mean, you don't go to work every day. I mean, you don't go to a building. What is it you do? You say, well, go to Amazon Prime, look up The Creator Revolution and watch that. And then you'll understand, because it'll really break that thing apart and let people know what it is that we all do.
And dude, that is so awesome that you're on the forefront talking about this, because see, what's so interesting is even though we've seen a lot of micro influencers, content creators, there's still a huge, massive market. I mean, this is just explosive. And I think we're still just on the forefront of it. And it's not even hit really mainstream. So that's really exciting though, that you're pushing that out. And you said that's already been launched, correct?
Well, we have a temporary landing page. Kendall's working on the trailer right now. So that's one of the things we did at Podcast Movement. We captured a lot of B-roll. We went around asking people, what is a creator? Because and we got all these really fabulous answers, because it depends on your perspective. There's no right or wrong answer. So we're going to be putting that into a trailer. And then we're talking to some creator-centric brands like ConvertKit. And, I was hoping to hit Mark Cuban up for Fireside Chat, those types of brands that serve this community. We'd like to get some sponsorships behind it, because then that'll help us launch it into the theater space and really kind of create that buzz and that kind of indie change film that we hope that it can be, and provide that wonderful inspiration and hope for everybody.
What do you think most people get wrong when they are developing their content creators? And I know you've been in this space for a while. You work with a lot of coaches, consultants, service providers, authors, speakers. What do you think they get wrong?
Say, get wrong with content?
Yeah, the content creation. Yeah, I think sometimes we overcomplicate it or whatever. I just love to get your perspective because you're on the forefront of it. And obviously you've got this incredible ecosystem, production system process, and as well as distribution platform. So, but I was just curious, like when you're working with a lot of these players, whether they are maybe doing great in their business and they want to create and publish more content, and they've heard a lot of that. I just was curious, like, what are some things that you've noticed, like red flags that a lot of people get wrong in the content creation space?
Yeah, I think it's from my perspective. I think there's no right or wrong answer here, but from my perspective, there's two things. One is that a lot of times, and I was guilty of this too, is just splatting against the wall everything. Let's throw an Instagram up, a Facebook, a LinkedIn, a web page, a blog, an email, a podcast, and we're splatting stuff everywhere with no consistency and no brand identity across all those platforms. So you go to Facebook and they've got pictures of eating barbecue with your family, which is great. And then you go to Instagram and it's something different. And then you go to LinkedIn and it's totally something different, and so having all of that branded the same is a big help. And then the other thing is making the content all about you. At the end of the day, nobody cares about you, your message or anything. Your customer always asks, what's in it for me? If you're still listening, you're probably going, when you first started hearing Christian talk and introduce me, you're going, what's in it for me? And then something that he said or I said captured your interest. And now you're tuned in because maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something about this channel that's interesting that can help me in my business. I want to know more. So now you're listening. If you're into horses and horse racing and, how to make horses faster, you probably tuned out or you're not even listening anymore because there's nothing in this conversation that really helps you. And so make your content about your ideal clients or John Lee Dumas talks about having your ideal avatar. There's a lot of different ways about that, but being very specific on how you help those people and make it about them, not you.
Wow, love that advice. Love that. I appreciate you just, stopping there for a second, just kind of sharing what you've seen, definitely working with so many content creators and just simplifying it. Now, I would love to talk, coming back to the creator revolution. How can they reach out to that? Where can they go to learn more about that?
So we have a temporary, pretty cruddy landing page, but you can sign up to be on the mailing list. I mean, I just threw it together. We got some people working on that and we're gonna have a trailer there soon, but go to the creatorrevolutionmovie.com. thecreatorrevolutionmovie.com. It's a little long, I know, but if you type that in, it'll take you to a landing page, and it'll say, and then it'll have, it just has a single button and you can opt in, and we'll get you notified of where that's going to be released and how and all those updates and stuff.
Now, I want to bring something up, and it's going to get a little technical. And the reason why is because I have just become more aware of this a little bit. So we've all heard of YouTube, and obviously, content creators, we love YouTube. However, the one thing I've noticed much more now is YouTube is actually very focused on controlling the copyright, and you cannot distribute it anywhere else. And they're very, very stringent on that. And as a content creator, and it was interesting. I was talking to someone, and they had this amazing like yoga thing, and they did a cool exercise, and it went viral. And she said it was actually very interesting because I could not actually use that anywhere else. I could integrate with my website. I could do all that fun stuff. Like, I get it, but I couldn't like put it on Apple TV if I wanted to. I had to recreate it. I couldn't do all this other stuff, all these other contracts, because it was owned the copyright. And I love for you to just talk about, I know we're getting a little technical aspect, but I think that's something that a lot of people, I was not aware of it. And as you start really building more and more content, and again, YouTube has got, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but like individuals like yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you can repurpose that content on YouTube as well as your platform because of the copyright situation. Is that correct? Or?
Well, we write all our own music and create our own content. So
Well, if you guys put it in-house, that creator can't repurpose that and put it up on YouTube, because otherwise it would be.
No, the way we work with our creators and our people is we do what's called a non-exclusive license for both. So you get copies of everything and can use it however you want. If you want to put it on YouTube, that's fine. We allow that. We put the power back into people. So what we want to do is we'll create a beautiful piece for you, and then and we want to retain rights to put it on our channel. And so that creates that win-win. And so we've had several creators that have paid for, we're getting ready to film a book launch in a few weeks for Teresa McCoy, and who's got a new book coming out. And so she's going to get copies of all that. She can repurpose it however she wants. We retain rights to air it on Bizable TV in perpetuity. So we're creators, so we're not looking to circumvent that. And the good thing is, because everything's created by Bizable TV for our clients, you get all of the it's all not, the music is all original. So there's no, and that was one of the issues we had when we were setting up our apps on Roku, especially Apple. They're like, we had to sign like 4 affidavits, give a little bit of blood. I mean, it was a process saying, no, we write all our Kendall writes all of that original music. And we use no repurposed music at all on our channel. It's like Libsyn with your podcast. If you try to use, Running with the Devil from Van Halen, you're probably going to get shut down by Libsyn or the podcast platforms because of that. So we don't have those issues because we write all our own music.
And I want to just foot stomp this for our audience. Many of you may or may not understand the importance of what he just said, but that is huge. And I just appreciate you kind of diving into that. It's a little technical, but it's very, very important. So what you're saying, Paul, is your platform is non-exclusive, where, hey, you know what? I can take this amazing, beautiful, top-notch Disney kind of mindset, kind of, quality and production, and distribute it to whatever platforms I have, because it's mine and it's still mine, but I'm leveraging your amazing ecosystem, correct?
Absolutely. As long as you've worked with us to create that. I mean, like, you can't just screenshot our channel and then go repurpose it. We would have to have a conversation. But if you're one of our guests that have paid for a docuseries or a full-length documentary, you retain all those rights and privileges to use it how it serves you best.
And I want to share that. I know we kind of get a little in the technical aspect, like I said, but I think that's just so important, because again, having ownership of that, your own content. And there are so many situations where I've heard where they get in these deals and it's like, oh, I don't actually own this. You actually own it. I'm just the creator of it. And it's just sad to be in that situation. So definitely, before you hit the mainstream and really go viral or something, you want to make sure you got this amazing content. I love this. How can Paul, how can our audience either reach out to you if they want to be more of a creator, and what are the requirements that you're kind of looking for, and as well as maybe the industries, because I know you're not just in the business and entrepreneur, you're also in the other categories. And then secondly, how can they reach out to you, of course, in regards to consuming more of this content and learning more from your platform?
Yeah. Anybody listening to the podcast today, I would encourage you to go to BizableTV.com and click on the join for free. There we have what's called insiders access, and you can get in there and kick the tires and see what some of the films look like. Each week we do put out some how-to, what we call Bizable TV University content, which is more traditional, like here's the 5 steps on email marketing, but you also get access to some of the great films that we have on there. And if you like it, you can sign up. If you don't, you can just keep your free access and so forth. So just go to BizableTV.com and check that out. And then if you are a creative entrepreneur, a company, a nonprofit, and you have a story to tell and you want to do it in a beautiful cinematic, Netflix quality film that can be on Amazon and Roku and all these streaming platforms, contact me at paul@BizableTV.com, or you can look me up on social, and maybe you can put some of my social handles in the show notes here, Christian. But really what we're talking about is a branded documentary. So getting a branded documentary around your story and your business and everything, and that behind the scenes, follow you around, kind of like that reality show kind of deal, but in a Netflix quality production. We can help you with that, and much better investment than chasing Facebook ads that never do anything, or legacy media. And we can help you get out in front of the right people for your business.
And guys, those links will be in the description below, so make sure you reach out. And again, just the importance of, just this higher quality. And you have to understand kind of Paul's ecosystem. He's working with these individuals that have literally worked with these massive, big production, 21st century Disney Plus. I mean, all these beautiful movies and production, they know what they've done. And so you're working with them and being able to like leverage some of their amazing resources, their knowledge, and being able to leverage it for your own platform as well and your brand. It's just beautiful. And they know how to structure that documentary. So it really resonates with the audience, which is going to be fun. And I love that. Paul, just appreciate your immense knowledge. I love what you're doing. I love just kind of the massive push you're doing, and also working with those mid-tier and just saying, hey, you know what, we want to add value to them and add value to their ecosystem and their audiences. And I always love to ask my guests before I let you go, is there any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh man, I should have been ready for this one. I usually have one ready, but words of wisdom, man, just get in the game. Don't be discouraged. Everybody you look up to on the reels and everything, turn that crud off and get to work on your game and focus on, you're running your own race. Don't compare yourself to all these other people. And we're all guilty of it. I mean, I'm sure, Tony Robbins, everybody, has those moments of doubt and everything, but the quickest way to get where you want to go, to achieve the successes that you want to do is focus on your game. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Michael Phelps picture, his competitor was looking at him. Michael Phelps was looking at the target. He was about one stroke ahead of him when he won all those golds. And so be Michael Phelps. Don't be the other guy in the lane looking at his competition.
I love it. That is my friend, Paul Klein, the CEO and co-founder of BizableTV. Guys, that is Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. Until next time, be uncommon if you can.